I am unclear right now whether or not people can hear me, see me. I'm pretty sure you can't see me.
What?
I will tell you that we have encountered a situation that has never happened before in the history of this show.
There's never been anything like this.
Well, it's a complete disconnect between our stream service, which is a really good one, and YouTube, which is a really good service too. But I'm really unclear as to why. Please run. Gosh, I do not know what you're seeing or what you're doing. But hello, everyone, and I'm so sorry. We've got such a great show for you today, too. This is just brutal. Oh, my God. What we've done is just cobble together a way that I can tell you that we've been working on this since 11 o'clock Pacific time. And sadly, there is no way to do two things. Apparently, there's no way for you to see me, which might be a net benefit for you, come to think of it. Yeah. But there's also no way for us to bring in John Rothman, to bring in Hal Rudnick, who I wanted to introduce you to today. He's really funny and sharp, and I wanted you to meet him. And we were going to do that in the next hour, along with Belinda Weymouth with It's the Planet Stupid. Essentially, we have a day where we're waiting, and we've contacted our stream service chat support. And again, it's through their chat. And they're, as I say, really good. But there is a YouTube, there's a YouTube stream service disconnect, and that's what we're enduring right now. So that we're all ready to go. As I say, we had a really good show planned, but what's happening now is an inability for the stream service to talk to YouTube, and YouTube is aware of it, and they're working on it. And I'm just seeing if there's any. Maybe Tony will tell me how I can. Doggone it. I feel like doggone it is one of those phrases that, it's past its prime. Yeah, it's past its prime. Sorry, I don't know. I think doggone it has been replaced by damn it, to be honest. I mean, just to state it straight. No need for pants today, Mark. I can read the chat, which is kind of fun. I'm glad you can hear me. I just wish you could really hear and see our contributors who are manifest today. John Rothman's been ready to go. Belinda Weymouth in the next hour. Hal is coming, and I really want you to meet him, as I was saying. And then, of course, Kim and Tony. So, yeah, it's a really tough spot, and it's an important day from the standpoint of news. There's a lot going on. We really were repping the Kerry Lake flip-flop, the Donald Trump flip-flop. There's just, there's more flip-flopping going on than a Palm Springs pool party. You know what I'm saying? It is really, when it comes to this abortion ban stuff, it's clearly the radioactive issue that could lose the GOP seats in Congress, and I think will lose them seats in Congress and the presidency. That's amazing. Anyway, what is El Gato is the question. Yeah, it says El Gato. Well, El Gato, and I don't know why they call it El Gato. El Gato in Spanish, of course, is the cat. It is the camera that is in our studio. So I've asked it to speak to you. So I don't know what is going on. I don't know why we're not seeing it, but for some reason we're not. Anyway, this is if ever you had the wrong guy handling this technical stuff, it's me. I just wanted to come on and tell you that, we're working on this. I think we'll stay with it for a while. And when we can get any kind of show up, I'm hoping we can in the next 15 minutes or so. But I don't know. And they don't tell us anything. Kim is updating the chat I think she'll update this chat too, and we'll see. You know, we talk about things we have to do on this show. One of them is we have to feed the beast that is the streaming service, which is a really good streaming service, as I say, and they allow us to bring in guests like John Rothman and other guests like Hal, who I was going to introduce you to, as I mentioned, and Belinda and David K. Johnson, and all these people, meaning you can add all of these different guests. It's one of the virtues of this particular streaming service. Also, we can add media, like we can play clips and this sort of thing. So again, you know, we have these sit downs to when we try to decide, you know, what technical services are appropriate for the things that we want to do on a daily basis. And so those things that I just mentioned to you are important. So that's why I love this streaming service. And it's also a really good one. I mean, it's a stable one. It's a solid one. And we've not had any issues with it. Well, today, and I don't think it's the fault of the streaming service. I think it's the fault of YouTube. The connection between our streaming service and YouTube is not there because there was some update to YouTube, we think, and that update is a little janky. It's a little, I'm unclear as to why, but for some reason, there's some aspect to it that doesn't connect to StreamYard, which is the name of our service. So as that happens, we are, you know, sitting here waiting to go, and our service, the streaming service, doesn't talk to YouTube. So that's it. Again, I could do a show for you by myself, but we're not on camera. And I think all I really wanted to do was explain to you what was going on. What I will do is go back to the crew. And when we are ready, meaning when this is rectified, the technical problem, we'll jump back on with the full crew. And I'm hoping that that'll be soon. Elgato is the prompter. I see. So what does that mean, Tony? It's not the camera. It's the prompter. So what do I do? What does that, why am I seeing nothing here, Tony, but the Elgato? Tony is texting me. This is completely uncharted territory. You know, I mean, it's a...
what can you tell us about the scene?
Well, it's uncharted territory, Larry. Don't know what we're going to do. Now you see why Tony is here, but
thanks, Tony.
He's not even here because he can't log in. All right. Well, Tony, if you can hear me, tell me how I can possibly get the camera going. The screen says to run Camera Hub. What is that? Gosh, boy, if you ever, I mean, I'm telling you, you guys don't realize it. Although I think you're beginning to realize it, I am completely out of my depth on this. You want content, you want takes, you want analysis, you want to understand something, I'm your guy. You want to run the Camera Hub, I'm not your guy. Yeah. I mean, it's
they do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
Yeah, they ask me to run that. Oh, here's Tony on the phone. Tony, where is I'm putting you on the air with us, Tony. What's that?
Okay, the Elgato, that's the Elgato prompter
software
is what it's asking for there.
Okay.
I'm trying to see if there's a way you can select the camera. You just need to say from Elgato, you just need to say, go pull from the Razer camera instead.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know where that option would be for you.
Oh,
I'm
good.
I'm
okay.
kind of like shadowing your stream right now.
Okay.
What?
Okay.
Wow.
Wow.
You just need to go to basically you just need to change it to Razer instead of Elgato if you can get to an option that says that.
Yeah. Where would it not? Yeah, you don't know where that would be. Okay. Maybe on the...
I don't know the YouTube interface that well. Sorry.
No, this is kind of an exciting challenge, and you've added an element of drama to all of this, and I'm challenged. Should I go to the... Let me see. I want the...
Where would you fix that at?
Let's see. Settings, maybe? Under settings?
That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Viewer activity, stream health. I don't think
Yeah.
I need shopping.
Very tough.
I'm sorry, man.
That's all right.
The settings.
It's Tony, everybody. Tony. Yeah. All right. That's good. That's Tony.
Trying.
Yeah. Video input choice. There's your video.
There you go. Yes.
No. I'm reading the chat now. I don't see a video input here. People, I love how everybody's become a tech support person in the chat.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, really cool. No. This is all no.
This is a mess. I'm sorry.
Well, no, it's not your fault. I mean, I think that
No.
Our stream health is excellent.
Mark, turn it off and reboot. And we've already done that. I turned the whole house off and rebooted it. Yeah, we've turned the whole neighborhood off and rebooted it. All right, Tony. If you have any more ideas, get in touch.
Okay.
We'll keep trying. Okay, Tony, everybody again. Yeah, So Tony is a genius on a bunch of technical stuff. He's built big radio stations like KFI Radio. So if Tony can't figure it out, maybe put on your credibility glasses, says JT.
Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
It might. My credibility glasses are on, everybody. If you're just joining us, this is an emergency announcement, I would call it, for an unprecedented event that has occurred.
A major announcement from the Mark Thompson Show.
Normally we do major announcements when something good is happening. But the reality is that now something not so good has happened. Today, our streaming service is not connecting with YouTube. And this is a solid, top of the line streaming service. And YouTube, of course, is top of the line. So we don't know what's happening, but we do know that the world is having this problem. We've been in touch with them and in tech support land at our streaming service and at YouTube. So, well, anyway, that's, so all I did was, come on here to try to apprise you of this, and apprise would be a ding word. I wanted to keep you up to date on what's happening. The show was great. It was 2 hours of wall-to-wall greatness, probably an award winner. I don't want to say, I'm just saying that had there been an award for greatness, this show probably was well positioned to receive it. Rothman, strong, very strong, ready to go. Use the words, and this is a quote, "There's so much to talk about." And then, as I mentioned, I was going to introduce you to Hal Rudnick, funny, smart. And then It's the Planet Stupid with Belinda Weymouth. That, again, chock full of so many stories. None of these things may come to pass today, and I'm sorry. We'll be here. Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to hover until our normal time would be done, and then we're going to, I guess, decamp until tomorrow, for tomorrow's show. Is that the word I want, decamp? I feel like that's the right word, but I'm not... doesn't that mean to go away, like to suddenly leave? Yeah. Adjourn. Thank you. Lori is right. Adjourn's a better word. But to camp is a ding word. Adjourn is not a ding word. Well, I'm a big fan of everyone who's made it over. Can Rothman call in, says Lucy. Wow, that is a real fan. Here's Kim calling in. Kim, you're on the air with Mark Thompson. Go ahead, caller.
Hi, this is Kim. I'm calling to find out what the hell is going on.
Yes, we've had some problems today, caller, but it's been... by the way, I never called anyone caller. I always felt like that was a way to it was a little way to diminish people. You know what I mean? I didn't like right? So I always we'd use, I think on KGO generally we use people's names. So.
Well, I just was checking in to see if you might want to do this because, this whole video going kaput is really my jam. I mean, I'm a radio girl anyway, so we can do news without video. This is fine for me.
Well, it's fine for you, but I mean, I have to hold the phone to the mic. I guess I could do it. I did get a $3 super sticker, which again is a, I mean,
we gotta got a $5 super sticker in the other chat from Spencer Griffin, who is trying to throw some toward our technical difficulties.
Big shout out,
Big
Spencer,
shout out.
and a big shout out here. Hang on a second. Let me see who it was. If I can go back. Ms. Organic with a $3 super
Big shout
sticker.
out.
Thank you. Wow.
Yeah, it's been a weird day. I mean, I'm telling you. What's interesting is Lori said she just got a YouTube commercial running. So somebody's making money somehow. I don't know. But,
yeah. Wow. I don't need to see Rothman or others right now, says Lee. I can barely see the chat, but I'd love to listen to your conversation. Listen to Kim. We don't need video. After all, we were all KGO fans. That's good, Lee. I mean, so I can do some news with Kim. I will tell you honestly, and this is the weird part of our new project, which I'm spending so much time with, this YouTube thing. It's a whole different world. For me, the thing that has been the hardest thing to learn is the YouTube part, and I still don't know a lot of it. But one of the key aspects of the YouTube part, Calvin Wong, shadow producer, technical, hang on a second.
Technical remote access for Tony to Mark's computer.
Yeah.
$20.
Big shout out.
Big shout out.
Yeah, to Cal.
And also Doug throwing in. Nice, you
Wow,
guys.
big shout out to
out.
Doug. Wow, Doug and Cal. Well, maybe we do continue, but damn snappies, damn it.
And this is their new hoax.
Yeah. Thank you,
William
guys.
says, yep, no video, just like the old days listening to KGO. That's right.
Yeah, sunspots. Oh, so, well, we can put this out there and we can do a thing with Rothman. One of the reasons I'll just finish my thought on this. One of the frustrating aspects to this is that it hurts our YouTube numbers, to be perfectly frank. We're starting to pick up some real momentum with some real outreach and real expansion. So when I post a video, and just by definition, there's no video on it, it's only audio, and it's only a couple of hundred people, I'll still do it because I, do want to give people some kind of service, and how committed I am to trying to give you a good show every day. But it hurts the channel. Because if you go from, 14,000 views to 200 views or 300 views, and I don't blame you, but, for not being able to watch it, it's not so, I was literally just coming on to say, hey guys, I'm so sorry, but this is kind of, we could do it. So Kim, if you want to do some news, Mark, double check that your camera is plugged in. Mo Direct. Giving me no credit.
Big shout out.
But I actually respect that Mo gave me no credit. I do. Because that is the kind of mistake I would make. So thank you. Anyway, so do you want to do some news? And I will.
Yeah, let's bring it on.
Yeah, I'll be unable to. I don't know what I'll be unable to do. But Tony, meantime, it's okay, Mark. We'll just listen to the show. Hang in there. Vilma is a big supporter. Thank you for a 10 spot.
Big shout out.
And I will say this. I'll cover it Monday, Vilma, your question about increasing Patreon. A couple of people have asked how to edit their Patreon support and to increase it. And Tony's actually going to go through a thing on Monday, and we'll have that for you. He's not back until Monday. That's why you'll have to wait till Monday. All right. So Kim's news and minus sounders and visuals. And meantime, I'll try to get the Salgado thing figured out. I don't know. And go for it. Okay. Yeah, the cat. Go for it, Kim.
This is an update from the Mark Thompson Show newsroom. Breaking news, YouTube's having issues. We'll get that all squared away. You know what else happened this morning? A magnitude 3.2 earthquake rumbled through the South Bay, just east of San Jose. Maybe that's what happened, right? According to the U.S. Geological Survey, the earthquake hit at about 1 a.m. It was centered 15 miles east of San Jose, 9 miles north of Morgan Hill. Of course, a 3.2, so no damage, no injuries. Auto insurance, baby food, and outpatient hospital services are among the items seeing the biggest price increases. This as inflation is on the rise. A new report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows the 12-month price growth jumped from 3.2% in February to 3.5% in March. The average price for a regular gallon of gas has gone up about 20 cents a gallon over the last month, that according to AAA. President Biden is responding to today's Bureau of Labor Statistics report by emphasizing inflation has dropped significantly during his term. He also told reporters he believes the Federal Reserve will cut interest rates before the end of the year. The president adding that his Republican opponents have no plan to tackle inflation. Israel says retaliation by Iran would result in an Israeli attack. The Islamic Republic News Agency is reporting that Iran is promising it will respond to an Israeli strike on an Iranian embassy compound in Syria earlier this month. Iran's supreme leader saying consulates and embassies are considered soil of that country.
Well, that's an odd position for Iran to take, considering they went in and they swept the American embassy and grabbed a bunch of hostages and kept them for over a year. I mean, are you kidding? You want to tell me about how embassies are sacred? I mean, don't get me wrong. You know, you can argue whether or not the Israelis should have done it, but the idea of there's some sanctity to an embassy, Iran, please save it, save it.
Are you questioning the supreme leader?
I am questioning. Not only am I questioning the supreme leader, the other thing I'll just tell you, I'll mention is that Iran is flooding the West Bank with weapons. I was just reading about that this morning. So, you know, they're trying to increase the headaches, the military headaches, and that's a polite way to put it, that the Israelis have. And so they're flooding the West Bank with weapons. And as you know, that's another flashpoint for the Israelis.
Vice President Kamala Harris heading to Arizona on Friday following the state Supreme Court abortion ban ruling dates back to when Arizona was still a U.S. territory. The 1864 law bans all abortions except when there's risk to the mother. The vice president's visit is part of her Fight for Reproductive Freedoms tour. And again, you're mentioning Carrie Lake and her flip-flopping on this issue earlier.
Yeah.
A new state audit. Oh, sorry. Did you want to say something?
No, go for it. I was just
Okay.
Tony's telling me how to turn the camera on. So go ahead.
There's a new state audit. You're going to love this. That has revealed California didn't consistently track its spending over the last 5 years in its efforts to fight homelessness. The state spent $24 billion in public money on homeless and housing programs between 2018 and 2023. But according to the audit, the crisis didn't improve. I think we've all seen that, right? In real time. The report found the California Interagency Council on Homelessness, the agency responsible for allocating agencies and resources for all these programs, stopped tracking how much was spent on them in 2021. What? It also stopped tracking whether the programs were working. The audit found that a lack of consistency and methodology to keep track also led to a fallout in collecting crucial data that would highlight the outcomes of the programs. The audit noted that some data, like how many people are participating and the number of beds, might not even be reliable. So, throwing money, we don't know where we're throwing money, we don't know why we're throwing money, we're just going to keep throwing money.
Well, the other thing that is happening in such a big way is that there is an aggressive, and we saw this in the Trump administration, the aggressive defunding of a lot of the very agencies that are supposed to keep an eye on where money's going and even pursuing fraud. This is sort of not the exact follow to that story, but it's sort of adjacent to it. And the Justice Department they're nailing a lot of those who were creating all sorts of sophisticated frauds during the pandemic for pandemic money, but they're running out of enforcers, of people in the Justice Department to run it down, because that the Justice Department has been so debilitated by the last administration. Look, not all things that are bad in America lead back to the last administration, but this one really is one of those things that does relate to it in part. And so when it comes to keeping track of monies, and when it comes, look, I think it's embarrassing we can't keep track of this money. And when it comes to homelessness and the huge homeless industrial complex, it is shameful that we can't keep a track of this money, although it seems almost to be a feature, not a bug. And as I was saying, on a grander scale, things like the pandemic program that was abused in all kinds of ways for fraud, they're running out of those to track those fraudsters down. Even as they have tracked down a bunch of it, there's plenty more that will never get tracked down.
Yeah. it's really, as you say, embarrassing, and should be anger inducing for people that know there's a problem, that see our taxpayer money keep, being spent on all these things, and know now that they really aren't even paying attention to it,
Right.
UC Davis is getting high marks for their veterinary science and agriculture programs. International ranking organization QS places UC Davis second in the world in both subjects for 2024. Since veterinary science was added to the rankings in 2015, UC Davis has been first in the world 5 times and is number 2 for a 5th time. The school also gets top 50 rankings in environmental science, geophysics, biological sciences, geology, and development studies. The School of Veterinary Medicine celebrating its 75th anniversary now, with over 700 students pursuing the Doctor of Veterinary Medicine and other degrees as well. Go Aggies. San Diego, now home to the best new hotel in the Northern Hemisphere. The Lafayette Hotel, which is on El Cajon Boulevard, has been named by Esquire as the best new hotel in Europe and North America. Again, it's called the Lafayette Hotel. The Union Tribune says while the Lafayette was built in 1946, it reopened with a $134 million makeover. The 139-room hotel now has a 2-lane bowling alley, 7 new bars and restaurants, including a 24-hour diner, a jazz club, a Mexican restaurant built out of a decommissioned church from the south of the border. So, interesting place, the Lafayette Hotel in San Diego.
Sounds like it might be a date. I love it.
Maybe today, since we have nothing else to do, go down there.
Yeah, let's get on it.
There is, and I know you've been waiting for this news. This movie scared the holy hell out of me. There's a revival of the horror film, The Blair Witch Project.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's in the works at Lionsgate. So the announcement was made today at the movie theater trade show CinemaCon. Plot details are being kept under wraps, but this film is being described as a new vision that will reintroduce the horror classic to a whole new generation. Horror filmmaker Jason Blum helming this project. The original film was released in 1999. It's allegedly based on a true story.
Well, that was the whole genius of Blair Witch. It felt like a documentary. They pitched it as like, they just uncovered it. It was really genius what they did. And of course, it not only did it create a subgenre, but he got a huge, I think Blumhouse was born of Blair Witch, and they become a terrifically powerful production facility and production entity, might be a better word.
Something about the shaky, jaggedy kind of way they filmed that, which made it look like it was really happening.
Right.
Like there was some real oh God, that, and those weird things hanging around, and you never really saw anything, but that the way they played with your mind, I'm telling you, that movie still lives somewhere in my soul in a freaky way.
Yeah, I agree.
There's never been anything like this.
Yeah.
Glad we got that straight.
Yeah.
This report is sponsored by Coachella Valley Coffee.
Wow, we're still doing the sponsorship. I love it.
This is radio. This is what we roll on no matter what.
All right.
Persevere. And you know what? We have our Coachella Valley Coffee to thank for helping us get through this rough morning.
Yeah.
Before did we ever need them? CoachellaValleyCoffee.com, an amazing treat for yourself. Check it out because there's all kinds of coffees, espressos, teas. It's the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it really, really is worth checking out. And because you're a Mark Thompson Show now listener and not viewer, you can go ahead and get your 10% off by entering Mark T altogether at checkout. That's CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. I'm Kim McAllister, and this is The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It was great. I loved it.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
Morning.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Stay at home and get baked.
Well, if you're just finding us here, this is really, it was done as kind of an emergency alert video. And Tony's telling me that I can get he's telling me how to get because our stream service has today encountered a problem, which is apparently YouTube wide when it comes to our stream service. And so what we were simply doing was trying to tell you what was going on. because we knew a lot of you were waiting. And so I came on, but I've come on without the camera. The Elgato refers to a thing that is on the camera, like a monitor that's on the camera. And Tony's telling me how to, but it's not working with the 3 dots, pal. I don't know what that is.
So I think that John Rothman is going to go ahead and call you.
Okay.
And so I'll hang up so that you can take our next guest. How about that?
Yeah, and then if you can get in touch with Hal and also Belinda.
You want them by phone?
I mean, I'd love to get Hal on just for a second to say hi, because I'd love the listeners to meet him. Yeah.
Okay, we'll do.
Okay, cool. All right, thanks.
Okay.
All right. This is really, Kim is really, yeah, look at that. Yeah. Kim is really putting it together. I mean, this is a unique set of challenges. Let's say that there's nothing in our
There is nothing in our history that quite compares to this.
Yes, I agree. It is, I'm seeing in the chat, I guess they roll ads in. Sorry about that, guys. I don't really, again, we just threw this up. This is basically going to be me for 5 minutes going, hey, I'm sorry, guys. We're trying to get this rectified. If they don't get their act together on YouTube and their connection with, StreamYard, which is our streaming service, then we'll have no show today. And I was sort of apologizing and explaining. But instead, it's become a thing, and now they're rolling ads in it. So I'm sorry about that. I don't understand why. I mean, I understand why, because they're trying to roll ads because it's a revenue source for YouTube. But anyway, rectified is a ding word, says Josh, and he's right. Yeah, there you go. John Rothman is going to. Here he is. John Rothman, everybody, the scholar and professor. The elder statesman who will make it all better. Daddy, tell me it'll be better soon.
Mark, everything you do is perfect, and don't worry about a thing.
Oh.
It just goes to show you when technology happens. One day, Mark, at KGO, everything went dead. And when it all came back, somebody said, John, why didn't you just go up on the roof and talk? So that's the way I feel with you. We're fine.
Well, let's. It's a treat to have you, and maybe a more abbreviated conversation than we typically have on Wednesdays. But we so appreciate you. I was telling everybody before that you had mentioned to me, wow, there's just so much going on. Where do you want to start?
I guess the place to start is with Alabama. Let me quickly summarize. Who knew that 1864 would have such relevance to 2024? But it's very clear that what Alabama did has put the Republican Party on the spot. And it goes to show you, and it's a very important lesson, the Civil War was fought over the question of popular sovereignty. Should a state have the right to do what it wants? In those days about slavery, now it's about abortion. And all I can tell you is the fallacy of popular sovereignty, of states' rights, has now been proven once again. What we need is federal legislation that will enshrine Roe v. Wade as part of our federal law. And that's what the Democrats are going to run on in part.
Well, this really is a chilling reminder of how the Trump administration has changed America for the foreseeable future.
For the worse.
Yeah.
I want to say it. For the worse. And I hope that the American people understand it and they get a thorough drubbing come November the 5th.
I do think, and this is, I've made this point, well before all of this happened. I made this point after Roe v. Wade and the overturn. I am gratified and encouraged by the fact that many states have the enshrinement of women's reproductive rights on the ballot as a ballot measure this coming election that will bring people to the polls, and it'll bring people who won't vote GOP to the polls.
In 2 critical states, we know for sure, Florida and now in Arizona. Those are 2 swing states. If I were Donald Trump and his people, I'd be very worried. The second issue, if I can very quickly, is the breaking news that Hamas now says it cannot locate 40 of the hostages. In other words, it appears that 40 hostages are dead. This will not do much to improve things in the Middle East. And your report a moment ago on Iran and what Iran is doing in flooding the West Bank with arms, this could be a major conflagration. It is important to note there was one ray of sunshine. The Iranians now understand that Israel is very serious, and so Iran is stepping back from the precipice, and it appears that there will be no direct confrontation between Iran and Israel. That's good because the Israelis said, if we have to, we'll hit you directly. So that's the second major story, but I must say very depressing when you consider the hostages have now been held for more than 6 months, and there seems little or no prospect of we're ever seeing them again.
Sadly, I think that's a reasonable appraisal of where we are.
Sad.
OCB says in the chat, Democrats, this is more on the on women's reproductive rights, Democrats have had decades to codify Roe, but they sat on their hands. Could you speak to that?
There was no need to codify Roe because it was the law of the land. It was Roe v. Wade was in force. And then when Roe v. Wade was overturned, the Democrats no longer controlled the Congress. So there are many things that the court does that are not enshrined in law because the presumption is that once the Supreme Court rules that that's the law. And what we have now seen is that it's not enough to have the Supreme Court take a stand. Congress must as well. One more quick point. That's why November 5th is going to be so critical. Will the Democrats be able to get enough votes in the Congress to be able to enshrine Roe v. Wade? No matter when they did it, up to now, they haven't had the votes. Will this be enough to shift the balance of power? Frankly, I doubt it, but it will show the urgency, number one, of the congressional races, which we will follow closely, and number two, who is president of the United States matters. And the fact that Donald Trump committed to overturning Roe v. Wade, put the 3 justices on the court that were able to swing it that way, goes to show you who is president matters.
Let me just go back to what you said about the balance of power. Could you just expand on that a little bit? You'd said that you didn't think it was going to affect the balance of power. Could you expand on that?
Well, you have to understand that in order for there to be a vote in Congress to enshrine Roe v. Wade, the Democrats would have to have majorities in both the House and Senate, and in some cases more than a majority. And I just don't see that happening in this election, not up to now.
Carrie Lake is, I just think maybe one of the higher profile figures on the GOP parade who embraced an abortion ban. She talked about being thrilled about it, but now seeing again the electoral radioactivity of it, she's beginning to waffle, right? She's going back. She doesn't, remember her comments.
She remembers. What she wants to do is win an election. And it's important to understand that for the Republicans, this is a terrible blow because it means that Arizona will probably elect a Democrat to the United States Senate, which may hold the Democrats in terms of balance of power in the Senate. Carrie Lake, by the way, is a hypocrite. She was defeated for governor of Arizona, refused to concede to this very day, still claims that Donald Trump won the election, and now, well, when she ran for governor of the state, she said that this 1864 law was exactly the model that should be followed. And if I were the Democrats, I would simply replay her saying that over and over ad nauseum to remind the people of Arizona what kind of person and political leader Carrie Lake would like to be.
Well, it'll definitely be replayed. And she, as John has said, called the 1864 ban a great law. I mean, I'll remind everybody, 1864, we talked about it yesterday, Arizona wasn't a state. Women didn't have the vote. I think maybe 7,000 people lived in Arizona at the time. So, this is a bizarre, it's kind of the same sort of law or callback to law, I'll put it in quotes, that the Roe v. Wade decision was based upon.
Exactly. And so what I'm telling you and what I'm telling our listeners is who wins in November is going to be critical. May I remind everybody that until Pat Brown, that is former Governor Pat Brown, not Jerry Brown, but his father, Pat, was elected governor, there was a law on the books here in the state of California banning Chinese from attending public school. Now, that law was repealed under Pat Brown. It was never enforced. And the most interesting thing, the reason I use it is old laws sometimes can come back to haunt us. And 1864 is an example. One other quick point. Barry Goldwater, who was Mr. Republican, Mr. Conservative, represented Arizona in the Senate for years, said that he believed that they ought to kick the right wing out of the doctor's office. It should be between the doctor and a patient. The best thing for the Republican Party, at least on this question, would be to go back to the wisdom of Barry Goldwater.
Well, it's a crazy thing to hear anybody who leans Democrat say, but there you go. I mean, it just the party has been hijacked, and this is a horrible, I mean, grotesque hijacking of law in Arizona. And as you say,
Can I raise with you one other issue,
please,
that no one is paying attention to? And that is that missiles are being fired at the nuclear power plant in Ukraine. And there is a real danger. And that power plant in Ukraine is the largest nuclear power plant in Europe. And how do we protect it? And I want to remind you, Donald Trump has proposed a plan to solve the Ukrainian problem by basically conceding to the Russians whatever they want. And Zelensky is very upset about it. And in fact, wants to meet with Donald Trump, invited Donald Trump to come to the Ukraine to see for himself the tragedy that is taking place. But this is going to be a real back and forth as well. Ukraine cannot slip from the attention of the world, which leads me to what's happening in the House of Representatives, where Speaker Johnson says he is going to advance an aid bill for Ukraine. The Freedom Caucus, his right wing, are furious at him. And that is why Marjorie Taylor Greene may proceed with the effort to oust the speaker. For the Republicans, all of this is catastrophic, because now the American people know that you put the Republicans in charge in the House and you don't get real leadership. So there are a lot of implications to this. It's just fascinating.
Well, it's fascinating. Mike Johnson, who leads the Republicans in the House, he's now all of a sudden, having to push legislation and to make nice with things he had not expected to push or make nice with in the past. I did want to mention that the Arizona Attorney General is saying that she would not enforce this, what she called unconscionable abortion ban. So I just wanted to button that out because we talked about yeah, go ahead.
Can I ask you this then? Part of the 1864 law said that a doctor who performed an abortion could be prosecuted, which means, among other things that make this so ridiculous, is that Arizona's lawmakers are now saying they will selectively enforce the 1864 law. I just want to point out the hypocrisy there.
Well, and then there's this, and I think it's worthy of a read. Karen Cooper says in our chat, the important thing to keep in mind is that abortion is just the start. Other rights will be in danger, involving many different segments of the population. I mean, I think it's a fair point to make,
Yeah, and may I point out, Donald Trump, to his credit, has now said he favors in vitro fertilization. And we've talked about this briefly in the past. I talked about it extensively with Kim. But I want to be crystal clear that women of America and men of America who want reproductive rights, meaning in vitro fertilization, should know that if the Republicans take control, even that will be in question.
Yeah, I mean, that's an extraordinary thing. A lot of love in the chat for this bizarre situation in which we don't have a video signal. We have only audio.
Which we're used to. We love audio.
Well, it's certainly the only thing I don't like is having to hold the mic up to the phone, which is just.
Well, I want you to know I'm now not worried because I didn't do my hair today.
Okay. Hey, talk to me about what's happening with the governor's race in California.
Well, it's very interesting because now you have a variety of circumstances. Kim and I were talking about it earlier, where you could have a variety of Democrats seriously running for the governorship of California. Now, let me point out that California's law now requires that it not be a runoff between a Democrat and a Republican. So we could have, depending upon who runs for governor, we could have a race in which two Democrats because the Republicans don't have the votes to get in. Two Democrats could run against each other for governor. Tony Thurmond, the state superintendent of public instruction, Ilani, the lieutenant governor of California. Now there's talk of perhaps the attorney general jumping in. Look, all I can tell you is it's going to be fantastic political coverage, which all can be found on the Mark Thompson program.
Well, it'll be fantastic. I'm just wondering if you can give me a sense for the challenges as they relate to Californians and how they'll be served by this race. I mean, it is a good thing, John. This kind of race, I think, ends up being good for the voters.
It can, but remember, if you have two Democrats running against each other, then it's not a question of issues differentiation, then it is a question of personality.
I see.
And I would suggest to you that I would rather see, and I'm just one person, I would rather see a system in which you have a Democrat and a Republican running against each other, which gives this state a choice, not an echo. I know several of the candidates running for governor as potential Democratic nominees. They're all good, honorable, decent people, and or at least people who are creditable. I don't want to go overboard, but I want to be clear. Choosing them is not a question of issues. They will all fundamentally be on the same page in terms of issues, as we saw with Schiff and Porter, for instance, in the late race for who would go to the United States Senate. The Republicans were able to pull out a nominee, as you know, only because Adam Schiff began featuring him in the ads, knowing he'd be easier to defeat. So it's a fascinating moment. Garvey, by the way, is not going to win, but he's there not because of his own recognition, but because Adam Schiff put him in all his ads and said, here's your choice. Fascinating move by Schiff, smart political move, and it is clear that short of something catastrophic happening, Adam Schiff will be the successor to Dianne Feinstein.
Yeah, it's interesting that you point that out. It really was sort of the 3D chess of politics on the part of Adam Schiff. And now you've got Javier Becerra, who may leave the Biden administration to run for governor. And as you say, it's just going to become a crowded field. And we'll see.
Becerra is not a known quantity anymore. He's been away now for several years. So he will have to reestablish his presence here in California. And this is not the first time we have seen, if you will, someone coming from really the outside who was on the inside coming to run. So don't you just love it? People ask me sometimes, what was the great American sport? The great American sport is politics. That's what's gripping.
Well, it is for you anyway. And I mean, they're real world consequences. I mean, so beyond the sportingness of it, and honestly, the horse race aspect of this can sometimes obscure the real issues. That's why I like that we talked about what's happening in Arizona. I mean, there are real life issues that are affected. It's way beyond rhetoric.
Of course.
Yeah. So, John, before I let you go, you've been so kind to just jump on us in this kind of weird way that we've put together.
I'll do anything for the Mark Thompson program.
Thank you.
Anytime. I canceled several things in order to stick with you because I don't want to leave you alone. And
you're lovely. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, pal.
Can I ask you a personal question?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
How's your father doing? I heard you mention that your father was not doing well. Will you please give him my best regards? I will. Thank you. He's a big fan of yours, and he is he's struggling right now with a new living situation. Mom and dad have moved to an assisted living situation. I'm going back to see them. And that's why you'll be away for those 4 days. That's why I'll be actually away for a week later in the month. But anyway, and you need me to do at any time, all you have to do is call. Thank you, pal. You're very sweet to ask, and we love having you in the bullpen. So thank you so much. You can find John on. I was just going to let me get my plug in for you. Around the Political World with John Rothman is an audio podcast, much like this has turned out to be today, and you can find it daily. And you get John's takes every single day. He stops by and is our regular guest on Wednesdays. What's that, sir? It's 10 minutes. Yeah. So it's, very important. But you had one last question. Did you want to ask me, or are we done? Well, I thought it was an interesting story, and I was just going to get your take. There was legislation passed, bipartisan legislation, to give families subsidized school meals
these are like, that families get subsidized school meals, and a lot of the reasons that kids, or one of the critical things that public education offers, is a way to feed a lot of kids who would otherwise be undernourished, etc. Well, there is a chance to give in Nebraska a bunch of these same families vouchers, essentially, for summer meals so they can continue to be fed. But the GOP governor said, no, I don't believe in handouts. I don't believe in welfare. That's Jim Pill. And again, these are real low-income kids who depend on this. Then there was a face-to-face meeting with the governor and some of these kids, and he reversed field. And this new program, it's a $2.5 billion program known as Summer EBT. I believe it will go into effect, but it does speak to this pushback. And you saw a lot of it with Obamacare. Remember when Obamacare went into effect and you had a lot of red states going, no, I don't want the expansion of health insurance if it comes from Obama and the feds. And sadly, a lot of these poor states are more in need than a lot of the blue states that are in better shape. I wonder if you could just speak to this divide and as it plays out in real life with people who desperately need this help.
The poor states you're talking about are primarily voting Republican. And it goes to show you that they shouldn't be. I would also point out that when federal subsidies are offered, the first states to take them are with Republican governors. Every state takes them, but the Republicans rarely, if ever, say no. And when they say no, they then reverse themselves. I don't know anybody else who remembers this, but when the first hot meal program was created, it made a huge difference. A child cannot learn unless they have food in their stomach. And by the way, neither can our listeners learn if they don't have steady meals. We are the wealthiest country in the world. We export tremendous amounts of food. The amount of food waste is phenomenal. This program is something that is essential, and it goes to show you, just as you will see in Arizona on the abortion issue, that Republicans facing the full weight of public opinion will have to readjust, recalibrate. Maybe that will help them become the Republican Party of the past. I don't know. It's
you say it well, and I could just put the cherry on top to say that there is an excuse that's always offered. There's too much administrative challenge associated with this. Of course, the Biden administration, they'll offer us the support, but there's too much of an administrative weight and we just can't do it. They're always going to find an excuse. But the reality is what you said, which is we are such a wealthy country. We need to feed these kids. We need to feed and educate our children. And that is the future. And I find it, well, frankly, it's depressing when I think about how these kids don't have a chance.
And we have to give them a chance. And you were right when you pointed out that one of Donald Trump's economies as president was to eliminate programs that monitored waste. And all I can say is, look at the waste we have, because what a shame we have in this country. Do you remember, and you are old enough to remember, when Edward R. Murrow did a special on CBS called Harvest of Shame?
Well, first of all, I'm not old enough to remember Edward R. Murrow, but I do know that was a very high profile offering. Yeah. That was that was about farm workers, though, wasn't it?
It was about farm workers and the need for people to have care, that you had to care for people, that you couldn't abuse people. And one of the points we need to make is you can't abuse children. All the talk when I listen to Fox, and I do listen to Fox, and I don't call it Fox News because that would be an oxymoron, but all the things I hear from them demonstrate the necessity for being attentive to the needs of people. And this is something liberals and conservatives ought to be able to agree on. This should not be a partisan issue. And I'm going to watch the Nebraska situation, as you wisely have pointed it out. So our listeners must do the same, to see how public opinion can sway what would otherwise be an unconscionable action.
Around the Political World with John Rothman. John Rothman, everybody. Talk next week, John.
With pleasure. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
The Mark Thompson Show.
You can hear a little cold in my voice. I don't know if it's a cold or what it is, but it's It's persistent. So this is not, in every way, this has been a less than ideal day. But what we're going to do is continue. And I believe that I really want you to meet Hal Rudnick. Hal's coming on, and he'll come on by phone. This is just, when a new face and voice join the show, it's pretty funny that I have them join in this. This is unprecedented that we would have this issue, but we have it, and he's cool enough to join us by phone. So we'll get Hal on in a moment. And I think we're going to have to push Belinda. What I'm going to do is record something with Belinda, and I'll get her on this week, or I'll drop it separately. We'll make it work. Here's the darling Kim to fill us in more on what's happening. Kim, go ahead.
Hey, just wondering if you want a little bit of news while we wait for Mr. Rudnick to call you.
Yes, that'd be awesome. So
right.
He's going to call in, and we'll have him. So when he calls in, Kim, you'll understand that I'll have to drop this call.
I figured that. So it may be in the middle of a story, but you know what? That's okay. We're
All
just
right.
going to go for it.
Kim's news. This is bizarre. This was to have been a 5-minute maybe address. And by the way, it's just weird that, this El Gato thing sits there in the middle of the screen.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to change that. And I don't know how to make it anything. And Tony has sent me a couple of, he said, oh, here's Hal now. Okay.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Hal Rudnick, everybody. Come on. Hal, this is the weirdest thing that's happening today. We're a well-oiled machine normally, Hal. I want you to know that. And
I have no doubt. It's just a pleasure to hear the dulcet tones of Mark Thompson in the morning.
Well, actually, my dulcetness has been affected by a little bit of a throat cold, but I'm really excited to have you on. And I have to tell everybody, and I'll mention it to Hal as well at the same time, that I was super excited for you to meet Hal, because he's funny as hell and he's smart as hell. And he's, one of these guys who's a news junkie and politically active and all these things. So you're this great package. And I was excited about sharing you with the audience, as I'm going to do now. But we really had this is unprecedented, this technical thing. So that's why they're only hearing us chat and not seeing us interact. So thank you for bearing with us.
Technologically and possibly content-wise on my end, prepare to be underwhelmed today, everyone. I kid. Mark, I'm just glad we could connect. And, in the good old days, this is how the pioneers had to do it.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, the Donner Party, right prior to eating each other, they were doing it by phone.
Their StreamYard connection wasn't working either.
Right. You can really. Have you ever been up to the Donner Pass? The Donner Pass is right up there on the way to Lake Tahoe. And
no, I haven't been up there. But,
okay. There's no marking.
Retrace those steps.
Yeah, there's no marking, Hal, but when you pass it, it does have a sign that says Donner Pass. And sadly, all I do is associate it with cannibalism and survival,
Oh, that's a dubious name. They need to look into possibly renaming it after one of the great wildlife or geological marvels that this state offers.
Thank you. I agree. They need to rebrand. That's a perfect way to put it. It's just an awkward branding.
That's like changing the name of the Andes Mountains to Cannibal Peak. where the ill-fated soccer team.
Yeah, Cannibal Peak would be that would really be a ballsy choice. Very impressive. Hey, big shout out. We do this on the show, Hal, when we are crowdfunded. So when someone blows in with a big number like this is incredible. Actually, with any number is a big number to us. But Keith just pinged into the super chat $50.
Big shout
Are
out.
you kidding? Already, Hal is getting the love.
Keith, above and beyond.
Yeah.
But keep it coming.
Yes, thank you.
Folks, if I could chill for you for a moment, Mark.
Yes, thank you.
Give till it hurts. Are you giving? Are you really giving if it's not making an impact on your income?
Hal, I don't know if that pitch is. Maybe we should workshop that a little bit more. But I will say that one of the weirdest things, we've been doing this show a little over a year. We came from the radio. We were a radio show, and that's sort of in a weird way what we're doing today. But I had to adjust to not being a purely kind of advertiser-driven show. That you're doing a little bit of that PBS NPR shakedown every day, and it's not something I'm comfortable with. But the audience has really responded. So it is a weird component, maybe I'll use that word, of this particular format, that you have to go, if you like this show, you can keep it on the air, but we'll need your support and this kind of thing. So
better you do it than, I remember a few years ago, there were a few questionable, there always are questionable GoFundMes and Kickstarters, as well as necessary. We live we live in a country where there's a fresh hell every day in a world. And, sometimes it's like, if someone has a medically related Kickstarter, it's heartbreaking, because that's the nature of the beast, our for-profit healthcare system. But what I was getting at, I remember Zach Braff, the actor, director, was trying to crowdsource a movie. It's like, okay, Zach Braff, get the funding. Some other way. Or Zosha Mamet put out a Kickstarter or a GoFundMe to fund her album. Zosha Mamet, by the way, she was on the TV show Girls. She's the daughter of esteemed screenwriter, playwright David Mamet. Zosha Mamet, no one should give money to you to do your pet music project. So I feel like you are on the up and up compared to some of these, glamour projects.
Thank you for contextualizing it that way for me. Yeah, you're right.
Absolutely.
Those showbiz pitches shouldn't coexist in the same space with, mom needs a new kidney or whatever the deal is on. And those, by the way, you talk about doom scrolling. When you go through the GoFundMes, it is sad, man. You'll have no money left if you read all of the pitches, but it's really sad.
Yeah, heartbreaking stuff.
But I missed the Mamet pitch. That would have been fun to see, just for a change of like a palate cleanser.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's funny, Hal. Let me just tell everybody this who may not know. Hal is like, I don't know why I say like, he is a movie nerd of sorts, and I don't even know why I say of sorts. Is it fair to call you kind of a movie nerd?
Absolutely. My father gave me an education on classic cinema growing up, a lot of, black and white films from the 1940s and 50s. And oftentimes it was under duress. Like I wanted to go outside and ride my bike or play with my friends. My father said, sit down, we're watching Shane, or we're watching the Maltese Falcon, or whatever it was. And I didn't appreciate it as much back then, but now I'm glad I have a little bit of an education when it comes to the classics. And then I went to film school, and I hosted for years and years on a YouTube channel called Screen Junkies, talking pop culture, film. And I love this stuff.
Yeah, it's really true and it's a weird thing that the classics of movies seem to be enjoying a renaissance. There's like a new appreciation, I think, for a lot of this. Maybe it's Turner Classic Movies. I think it's stuff like Screen Junkies, which you did for a long time, and there's an adoration about it now. I think YouTube's a big part of it, and podcasts are a big part of it, where they drill down on movies and on endings and on explaining things. You just didn't have that for a long, long time.
Absolutely. And there are little pockets where you can explore what used to be extremely niche, all sorts of fandoms. You can find things dedicated to your area of interest, be it classic films or a certain genre of music, or sports, what have you. So, absolutely. The fact that we have all these channels and access to so many different outlets now with podcasts, YouTube, etc.
It's funny how the amount of product is overwhelming to me now. Like, just to keep
There's
up.
Too many shows. There's too many shows, Mark.
Yeah, I know. There really are, right? I mean, it's,
oh my God, there's so many that I would like to watch that are on that I have queued up or that I make a note of. But let me ask you a question, Mark. Are you currently watching anything? Has there been a series or any films that you've watched recently that have tickled your fancy?
well, we liked. We just saw it's the documentary drama. It's just it's a single. I know everybody wants series. It's just a single film. It's
Sure.
about the BBC and Prince Andrew and tracking down that story, and it's really good.
Oh,
And it's
yeah.
called what's it called? It's called this is I'll think of it.
Escape
Scoop.
from
It's called
Epstein
Scoop. What did you say? Escape?
Escape from Epstein Island.
Yeah, that would be good. Maybe that's the follow-up. It's called Scoop, but it's really the story behind Prince Andrew's undoing and how, and they show you the BBC, how they sniffed out the story, but also how Prince Andrew and his people from the palace, how they kind of steered into it. And by the way, and people who are listeners, viewers to the show know, I don't care about the royals. I don't follow the royals, but this is a fascinating look, and it really brought to life something that's a real story. So we just saw that. We liked it. It's called Scoop. And then we saw the Sam Spade series. I think it was on Apple with Clive Owen as the lead, and it was very good also.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Was that a hard-boiled detective?
Yeah, it's okay. Here's the premise: Sam Spade from the Maltese Falcon, and
yes, played by Humphrey Bogart. Yes.
yeah. So now he's in the south of France. So yeah, that was probably an easy pitch to Clive Owen. So here's where it takes place: the south of France. I'm in.
Not a bad location. Not a bad. I've gotten to. I've done some acting in my time, and I got to. When you get to travel on the company dime and then go someplace cool, that is the best.
Yeah.
I spent a month and a half shooting a kids action adventure movie in Thailand.
Wow.
In maybe 2010. It's a film called The Lost Medallion. You can find it if you search for it. And I mean, it was just a mind-blowing experience. We got to see some of the most beautiful beaches in the world, go to Bangkok. You know what they say, Mark, one night in Bangkok and the world's your oyster.
Well, I'll tell you, I was in Bangkok for a couple of nights, and I found it too overwhelming for me. Like I couldn't. It was just too much. And
it is like the language barrier,
right,
and navigating the city. But I do like, as a tourist, I do enjoy that feeling of being a stranger in a strange land, where simply trying to go to a convenience store to buy a snack or navigate the streets becomes this major undertaking. And it really spices up life. I enjoy that feeling of just being brand new to the culture.
You're far more courageous than am I. I will tell one story from Thailand, from Bangkok. So my girlfriend at the time and I were there, and we're coming back. We're spending a night there in Bangkok, and we are at a nice hotel, and she wanted to go to a shopping district. So we get a taxi, and we tried. And by the way, I would have thought that the doorman would have said, and communicated where we wanted to go more effectively. But we said we wanted to go to a shopping area, and the guy takes us, through these clotted Thai streets with all of the, the wonder and the assault on the senses. It's really quite, as you say, it's either exciting or intimidating or a bit of both. And then we pull up into this like square, and then he lets us off, and he says, and I'm looking at, it looks like a nightclub or something to me. It looks like some kind of club. And then he said, he said, and again, it's this broken in, I'm not going to do the accent, but all I heard was ping pong. And so I don't understand. We want to go shopping, shop. He goes ping pong. And I get out, I talk to somebody, and I realize that it's some kind of sex thing where ping pong balls are involved in some kind of sex act or something. And I get into he hasn't driven away yet. We get back in the car. I said, take me back to the hotel. We go back to the hotel. The guy explains what had happened. And of course it was some kind of weird sex show, or and then we got a hotel car to take us to the shopping area. But again, it was this weird place meets, as you say, a problem with communicating, language barrier, and then what most tourists want, I guess, is to see some sex ping pong trick, So.
Well, oh boy, I mean, you missed the main event there, Mark. But no, but for real, when you're walking down the streets, it is shocking seeing all of these expats, who are maybe an older gentleman in his 60s with a young Thai woman in her 20s or 30s. I mean, that's and who else knows what's going on? Yeah, I do. I always have to clarify if I say I've been to Thailand. I'm like, I was there for work, FYI. But I did get to see some of the most beautiful stuff. I got to go to the rainforest, and right outside where the bridge over the River Kwai actually was.
Wow. Wow.
And so rainforest, beaches, and Bangkok is a great international hub. But back to the Prince Andrew. Did they talk about his lack of sweat glands or his inactive sweat glands? That whole story.
Oh yeah, they touched on that. That's right. That he said that. God, that is review for everybody. That's a bizarro thing that he said.
Yeah, he said he was incapable of the testimony given by one of the people in this case was completely inaccurate, because she had said he was sweating, and he said that he had just inactive sweat glands, that they did not work. Which I wish my sweat glands were inactive.
And
I pit up a little too easy, Mark.
There is the full spectrum of sweat gland, whatever that is. What would you call that? The casting off of sweat. It's on a full spectrum. So here's how that works. There are those of us who will sweat more than others, and there are people whose sweat glands are not really operating, and there are kind of challenges to that, because that's one of the ways the body cools itself, etc. But the reason it was so absurd was that there were plenty of pictures of him sweating. So the idea somehow that he could, the thing about these guys, and one of the problems, he didn't really have any high ground. Dude, you're the prince. There are so many pictures of you. You cannot use an argument like that that's so clearly and easily turned upside down. And that's what they did. Yeah. So the sweat gland argument, again, this guy, look, what happened to him was extraordinary. I mean, and you see how in this movie, we're talking about this movie Scoop. If you're just dropping in, our show lost video today, and we are in this weird place where we're just talking, but I don't know. It's kind of working out for the moment. Hal Rudnick is with us, and we're just talking about Scoop, which is this movie about, again, how Prince Andrew became essentially destroyed by this scandal. And it's interesting to see the BBC, and this really did happen. I mean, so many of this, and what's in the movie is documented, having to approach this whole thing with a sort of anxiety and respect about approaching the crown, the palace. I mean, this is a palace scandal, and they aren't sort of excited about it. They're kind of, they're approaching it in almost a regretful way.
Yeah, I mean, certain things in life are sacred, and the crown, I mean, years ago, you would have swept it under the rug. It would have been buried. I mean, so thankfully we're in a time where the victim is respected over the criminal, even if the criminal is royalty now. Whereas, but you've kind of had to chip away at this over time, because I'm sure there's many dark scandals in our history, but it was things like the Me Too movement, and over here and abroad, that have allowed the floodgates to open and for something like Scoop to be made. But prior, it's just terrible. I went to Penn State. I went to college there.
Oh my God!
It just makes me think about horrific scandal involving the football team and this monster of a coach, Jerry Sandusky, where Penn State took the side of the football program over victims, and then the chickens came home to roost. So I'm glad we're in a time where they can just broach these matters at all.
Right. That's a really interesting thing. I'd love to talk to you more about that maybe another time, or just for spend a second on it right now, because the thing, I was on the radio then, talk radio, and when it happened, and the kids at Penn State were protesting the fact that they were taking down, I think, the statue of Joe Pa. Is that,
yes, Joe Paterno, legendary coach. But here's the thing: he apparently, he turned his back. He turned a blind eye. Joe Pa was like, Dad, Jerry Sandusky, he does his weird thing, brush it under the rug for years.
Right.
And I say, throw the book at him. I went to Penn State. Take down the statue, remove, give them penalties, because the program made horrific decisions that enabled a monster.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And I remember saying, these kids are going to regret this. They're out there in the square yelling about how, they can't take down Joe Pa's statue. They're going to regret it, because this is you said it right. I mean, he's a monster, this guy Sandusky, and he was preying on, as they always do, these kids who had no parent, or had only a mother, or were in some ways compromised in terms of family. And Sandusky, he stole their innocence. It was horrifying. So
we're going down a dark road here. But one more thing in regards to this. There's a well done but terrible documentary, terrible subject matter on Netflix called Scout's Honor, about the sex crimes in the Boy Scouts of America.
Oh, sure, of course.
And I was a Boy Scout growing up, and I watched this documentary, and then I'm like, you know what? Let me Google my Scoutmaster.
Oh my God!
And he was implicated.
Oh my God!
In a crime. I thank my lucky stars that he didn't come knocking on my tent in the middle of the night, for God's sakes. But I kid you not. It's not a funny, subject matter. It was unbelievable to me. Like, it was just like my blood ran cold when I saw that.
Sure. I mean,
anyway.
Yeah.
I'll give you a quick recommendation of something I've been watching lately.
Please.
That it does involve. There is a lot of violence and killing, but it's a rollicking adventure. A rollicking adventure. I'm really enjoying from FX and Hulu, the Shogun miniseries. It's beautifully done. Just the way they recreate feudal, centuries-old Japan, just the villages and the attention to detail. And then I was a little wary about, is it going to be somewhat impenetrable? Because, I'm not an adult. I'll watch. I enjoy foreign films and subtitles, but I have to be in a certain mood. But it was so accessible, and the story is immediately engaging. It's a really well done, brilliant adventure, and I think really honors it just so much of the beautiful culture of Japan as well.
In the chat, Jason says he's right. Shogun is pretty good, and it's mostly in Japanese, as it turns out.
I'm sorry.
It's mostly in Japanese.
Largely in Japanese. There's so an English-speaking sea captain gets marooned on the shores of Japan. They run off course, and they're at low ebb as far as any food. They're near death, and so there's one English speaker. So it goes back and forth between English and Japanese, but largely in Japanese with subtitles.
That's great. We'll have to jump on it. All right, now listen. I want to thank you for coming through. You're my new favorite person, as you know, and I'd love for you.
At you, Mark.
Yeah, I'd love for you to drop in again. We'll talk about. I'm going to be away for a while. I'd love to have you maybe come sub for me along with Kim. It would be, I think it would add value to the show. I just love your stuff. I love your takes. And
thank you. I mean, that's really kind. You're a gentleman, a scholar, and just a thoughtful son of a gun. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, you can find Hal across the universe of the web. And are you on any of these social media platforms? Where are you?
I'm on Instagram, and I'm still on X, formerly known as Twitter. Both of them just at Hal Rudnick, at Hal Rudnick, and I'll just be talking movies, comedy, and an occasional baby pic.
Okay. Oh, that's right. Is it 8 months? How old is your?
Yes. My daughter is 8 months old, and she keeps my wife and I on our toes. We feel just really blessed and lucky.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, congrats on that. Really cool. All right, Hal, we'll be in touch, and we'll see you soon. Thanks for putting up with us today. Hal Rudnick, everybody.
Absolutely. I appreciate the chat, and I will talk to you soon.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Talk to you soon. Hal Rudnick. Right on.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Yeah, I don't know. Apparently now I'm learning in the chat that the Midas Touch Network is live, so they may have worked out their problems. But of course, they've worked them out just for us to say goodbye. The end of our show. Kim, if you're listening, you can jump on. And if you're not listening, maybe you've gone on. That's fine too. Oh, here is caller. Are you there? From Marin?
I'm very unhappy with everything I've heard on the show today.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Where's our Shirley? Right.
Oh, yeah, it just popped on. And so it looks like the system is better now, and I'll be able to have an after party. But what a Mark Thompson show. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody who not only put up with us, but supported us. It's a weird thing, and I appreciate very much the fact that you guys stayed with us. It's quite surprising to me, and immensely cool that you guys hung out. And so thank you. Sorry about my throat. Also, is a little bit of a cold today, but
I know you're doing it, and you're working hurt also. So we talked to Belinda Weymouth a little bit off the air, and she's willing to come on and tape with us this afternoon. So Great. I know everyone was looking forward to It's the Planet Stupid, but we'll record that, and then we'll get that on this week so that we make sure that we get all the information.
Love that plan. I totally love that plan. There are a lot of important stories. So thanks, everybody. I will, I guess I can leave. I don't know if you can hear the theme, our closing music. I feel somehow incomplete unless I post it. Boy, Tony's, usually we break out videos. Tony doesn't need to break out videos today. Yeah, it's all just, so Kim will do the after party. We'll be back tomorrow with a regular show. In fact, tomorrow it'll be David Katz. We'll talk about the legal case in Arizona. It's not just Trump with David Katz and the law. And thanks again to Wes, who's really the coolest with a $5 super
big shout out
sticker. Was there anybody else I had to get to before I mentioned Keith Johnson for that 50 again?
Big
Thanks,
shout
buddy.
out.
That's really cool.
Really nice.
Yeah.
There've been a lot of super stickers today, and usually the system we use lets us keep track of them all so we can say thank you. But here in YouTube, they've all just kind of been flying
I'm
by.
Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show.
We know Alec Wong threw down $10 for us as well.
Out of time. Bye.
We're out of time, Kim. Thanks, everybody. Until tomorrow. Bye-bye.